Hello everyone, Skypikmin here, and welcome for another episode of the Analyst Desk. Today I'll be covering round 17 of the Manufacturer Series in the 2019 FIA GTC. So hope you will enjoy the video and that it will help you as always. So let's get started with the race settings as we always do. First, the race will be held on one of the newest layouts on the game, which is Sardegna A. It will be a Group 3 race, which is the equivalent of GT3. The race will be 8 laps long, which means that it should be a race that will last for around 13 minutes, between 12 and 13 minutes, I would say. Slipstream on real, damage on light, tires allowed are hards and mediums, balance is obviously on, start type rolling start, fuel consumption is times 4, and tire wear is times 13. So as for the fuel consumption, you shouldn't have any issue with the fuel, so you shouldn't have to pit for to refuel. But then with the tires, with times 13 tire wear, it might be worth it to try some different strategies, like using hards instead of mediums, or trying to maybe no stop the race on hards and maybe do one stop on mediums, just to see the difference. So this is everything that you need to train in public lobbies before the race. So yeah, basically in order to get a good result in the FIA race, you need to train and to figure out what is the fastest strategy. So I would recommend trying out a no stop with hards, one stop with mediums, and maybe if the mediums are too worn when you are pitting, maybe try to stop with hards to see the difference, just to have an idea of the total time that you can do on 8 laps with those different strategies, and then choose the one that was the fastest or maybe that would put you in first. Like for example, if you are running on a one-stop strategy and you are going to the pits but everyone is just behind you, then you will have a hard time to overtake everyone else. But if you no stop the race and everyone else is going for a stop, then you will have a hard time because everyone will come back at you very fast. So yeah, there are a lot of different strategies that are possible to do in those FIA races, but yeah, you have to figure out which one will be the best in your case and for your car. So yeah, you'll just have to try in public lobbies and then do it in the FIA race. So let's follow with the track analysis. So I've made it pretty obvious with all the yellow on the map, but this is a power track with a lot of straights, so that's why some cars will have a very big advantage over some others. So as always in yellow, the parts where the power of the car will be an advantage, so there is pretty much all the track here. In red, I've highlighted the overtaking spots, which are, as always, pretty much the hard braking points after the long straights, but I would recommend that you try to overtake on the straights with the slipstream, because it will be easier for you and it will be less risky for the other guy and you, because you are not trying a move on a corner, and you will lose less time too, so that can be a better option than just trying to overtake on a corner, because there are obviously a lot of straights and they are pretty long for some of them, so you will probably be able to get the slipstream and try to get past someone. But yeah, you can still try some moves on these hard braking points, but you will have to be very close and you will have to be sure that you are completely ahead of the other guy after the corner, because for the 3 different overtaking spots that I've highlighted, the next corner is a corner that favors the guy that will be on the outside. If he stays on the outside on the turn that where you are trying your move, then on the next one he will have the advantage, so your try will be worth nothing. So I'd recommend that you only try to overtake in the straights, at least for the first maybe 6 laps, and then on the 2 last ones, maybe you can try to battle with the guy in front to get the spot, because obviously in the last laps you will be able to see if you can catch on the guys that are really in front, and if you can't, then you can just battle with the guy that is just ahead of you. So yeah, maybe you can try some moves on the last laps, but on the first stages of the race I would recommend that you only try on straights, because it will be less risky and you will lose less time. So I've squared in green the first turn of this track, which I found quite interesting because it has a little banking in it and it is a little bit blind when you come to it. So I've decided to, as same as the last time, I've circled in orange the braking markers. So in this case we don't have any marker that can move. So that's a very good thing in my opinion, because instead we have the distance markers fixed. So you have the 150, the 100, and just before that you have also the 200, but I didn't found it very useful. And you also have this blue paint on the track, just next to the grass, and the curb that can be very useful in that case, but I will explain it just a bit later on. Then you also have the marshal post that is on the left, and you have the end of the barriers that are marked in red on the right side. So for this corner I would recommend that you use everything pretty much that you have on the right, because it's all fixed, so you can get braking points and turning points from these markers. So for your turning point, I would recommend that you use the curb, because you can start turning, for example, just at the end of the curb, and then you will be able to adjust your turning point according to the result that you get with your car. But I think that it's a pretty good starting spot. Then for the braking, well, you have to know what your car is capable of, so just figure out your braking distance according to your car, but you have a lot of fixed boards and paints to be able to adjust your braking distance, so that should help. And in blue I've highlighted the line that is for me probably the best in this corner, that is to say, don't go too early on the apex, because you will lose a lot of exit speed and you will be able to be flat out just after this corner, so it's very important to have a good exit speed. So yeah, just try to turn at the end of the red and white curb and then just adjust it according to your car's turning capabilities, I would say, and yeah, just try some different braking markers, some different turning points, and just figure out what is the fastest and the best for your car. For a move on this corner, I would recommend that going early on the apex can be a good option, but then you will be at a disadvantage if you don't pass entirely the guy in front, because the next corner is a right-hander. So if you want to try a move on this corner, you better be sure to pass all your car ahead of the guy, because if you don't, then your move will be worth nothing. So yeah, you have same as always, you'll have to train and to figure out what is the best here for your car and your driving style. So I hope that this little corner analysis helped you, and that you will be able to get better times in this track because of this corner. And then finally I will present you the tier list that I've made for this track. So Obviously, this being a very straight line speed focused track, the Ford, Nissan, and Lamborghini will have a great time. For the Ford, the Mustang and the Ford GT should be good. Maybe the Ford GT will have a slightly better pace over the Mustang in this track, but it also depends on the driver, obviously. Then in A tier, I've put Jaguar and Toyota. So Toyota, if you drive the FT1, maybe you will struggle a bit because of the straight line speed. But if you drive the Supra, maybe you can do great. You can do well because it has quite a good straight line speed. Jaguar is only in A tier because, in my opinion, it's probably one of the best car on straights. But the problem is that on this track, maybe the straights aren't long enough for it to really show its potential, like it could do, for example, on a track like Tokyo or Monza. So that's why it's in A tier for this race. And then in B tier, obviously two cars that aren't really great at straights, Subaru and Mazda. So yeah, same goes for Mitsubishi and Renault. I think that it will not be a great race for them, but we never know. Maybe someone can try to follow. Maybe you can try to follow someone, follow a pack uh, for in the race, and then try a move on the last laps. But yeah, it will be very hard for you because the straight line speed will be pretty much everything on this track. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember that this weekend is also the New York World Tour, so that means that a lot of good drivers will not be able to race in this particular race. So maybe that can be a good time to score some good points because you will be able to get in higher lobbies and have higher points on offer. So yeah, maybe it's worth a try. So I hope that this video helped you and that you will be able to score great points as always in the race. And I'll probably see you on Monday for the next episode, which will be on round 18. And maybe I'll try to do a little recap on the World Tour, but I'll have to figure it out during the weekend according to what's going on in the World Tour. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed watching and see you on Monday.